Hi guys, it is Monday, July 31st, 2023, and I'm here to do my July WIP update. Um, and it's also my best friend's birthday, who I know doesn't watch my videos, but happy birthday to her. Um, she she got stuck working on her birthday and she wasn't very happy about it. She's like me, she usually takes off on her birthday, and today she felt like she shouldn't, so because of other stuff that was going on at her office. Anyway, you didn't come here to hear about that. Um, July stitching. Um, It was okay. I had kind of hoped it would be a little bit better, and the only reason it wasn't better is because I got distracted with something else that I was doing, and there were several days that I didn't stitch. So I'm going to end up at about 4,500 stitches, which I think that's what it is, but which isn't bad. It's not bad at all. I wanted to get to 5,000, especially since I had the middle 2 weeks of the month off. Um, but I just got distracted, and there's been several days in the last 2 weeks that I haven't stitched. So, um, but I do have a finish, and I stitched on a lot of different things. Um, and I have a little bit of haul, and we have categories slash arbitrary August, and I did some reorganizing my stash, and so there's a lot to talk about. So let's start with we'll start with what I finished. Um, I I started off the month very, very well. Um, on July 4th, of course, it was a holiday. I had the day off work. And on July 4th, I decided that I was going to sit my butt down and I was going to get as close as I could to finishing this. And 764 stitches later, which is probably the most that I've ever stitched in one day, I finished my Hope Song. Oh, try this. There we go. So this is Hope Song by Heartstring Samplery, and this was an exclusive in the Homespun Needlework group from last year. I think it's going to be released at market next year. So look out for that from Heartstring Samplery next year. But I love it. It's beautiful. And so that got the month off to a good start. 764 stitches on the 4th of July. The Homespun Needlework group, it's called Homespun Needlework, Samplers and Cross Stitch. Homespun, yeah. Um, they are releasing their new exclusive on Wednesday, I believe. Tomorrow or Wednesday, August 1st or August 2nd. So if you're interested, if you're not in there, join the group. They're releasing the exclusive in the next day or two. And they'll have all the information about the project and the designer and the pricing. And if you're interested, go check it out. For budgeting purposes, I would plan for 100, at least 100. They're not usually cheap. So yeah. Anyway, that was my finish, and I was very excited. That's only my third finish for the year. This has not been a very good year for finishes so far. I still have uh, some other things that I want to finish, and we'll talk about that in Arbitrary August. But so far, this has been the year to make progress on things, and not really so much a year for finishing things. This month, because of road trip, um, I ended up working on a lot of different things because I was in a spot in the road trip where there were a lot of prompts, like, you get discounts or you get rewards if you stitch to the prompt. And on one or two of them, there was a penalty if you don't stitch for the prompt. So if it's 500 stitches, but you can deduct 200 if you stitch the prompt, and you have to add 300 if you don't stitch the prompt. So a lot of the stuff got chosen because I needed it for the prompt, and I ended up having to rearrange my categories a little bit to make some of the stuff fit into categories, because I don't do enough stitches to both meet my category goal and do separate stitches for road trip. So I ended up moving my categories around a little bit. So these are kind of in random order, but I'll show them to you. This first one, is Silver Moon Tea by Mirabilia. And I have a goal this year to put 500 stitches in all my projects. And she had 200 and she needed another 300. So she got her other 300. I did some more work in the moon up there. And yeah, I think that's all I did. Is I think I put all those stitches in the moon up there. And so there she is. She's met her goal for the year. And it's not terribly likely that she's going to come back out this year. Not impossible, but not very likely. I have some other mirrors that I'm focusing on, and she's not one of them. So she's going to have to wait. This is another project. I pulled her out, Silver Moon Tea, because I needed, I guess that was I forgot why I pulled her out. Oh, I needed something with a way to tell time, and you can tell time with the moon, just like you can tell time with the sun, you can tell time with the moon. And that's why I pulled her out. This one, I used for the category, haven't stitched on in 2023. And this is an old project, and you've probably only seen this in my WIP parade before, because I haven't worked on it in many years, until this month. This is Kimono by Donna Gallagher. I think the chart is from 1990 or 1991. And Donna Gallagher is long deceased. And I started this in 2011. And when I was getting ready for No New Starts in 2021, or at the end of 2020, going into 2021, it only had about 200 stitches in it, because I had to pull that out and make sure I had enough stitches to get in No New Starts, and it did. So I put in 500 stitches for it, and I think I used it. I used it for something on road trip. I don't remember what I used it for, but I'm just gonna pull this like this because it makes it easier. So I did all those 500 stitches in this pink right here. I think I did a little bit of the gray. I brought the gray down a little bit, but I just did all of that pink. So there's my kimono, and this will probably also go away for the rest of the year. I don't know that this is gonna come back out. We're kind of on the downhill side of 2023, which is insane, but I still have a lot of goals to meet and a lot of things to do, and there's just not room for this project, I don't think. I don't really think that I have even enough room for the goals that I already have. So this next piece, it did come out for road trip, and I also used it for a category. I used it for full coverage, and props to Shannon for pointing out that I could use it for full coverage. Because I was originally going to use Silver Moon Tea. And she's like, well, you could use that. I'm like, oh, well, duh. Um, and the reason I stitched on this is another project. I struggle with this project. I've talked about this many times. It's kind of on the bubble. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. But I needed something with a trunk. And she's the only one that I have that has a trunk on it. And this is Dark Water by Jessica Elaine, charted by Hade. And see right there at the bottom of her rock right there, she's got a trunk. So I stitched on her for road trip, and I used her for categories. And I put 500 stitches in it, which added to the 500 stitches that I already had. So out of the 395,000 stitches that are on this project, I now have a total of 1,000 stitches. So there it is, 1,000 stitches of 3750 and 310. So I I I was surprised actually. I did actually kind of enjoy stitching in this. I I enjoyed using Pattern Keeper for it. That's what I enjoyed was using Pattern Keeper. I got a better stand for my tablet because I had one of those stands where the case just folded up, into a stand. But like if you look at it wrong, it collapses. So I got a better stand that doesn't collapse, and I think that made it better too. We're gonna save this project because this project was okay. This project, I used this for newest start. This was my newest start in May. Um, this is, no, I didn't use it for newest start. I used it for, maybe I didn't use it for categories. I don't know. This is Cabin Fever by Milho. And, um, I did 600 stitches on this because I used it on the road trip because if you had something with a cabin or a mountain or a tree, I don't remember. I used it on the road trip for something. I don't know. But this is where I got to on it. And 600 stitches did a lot on this project. It did this entire cabin. I had like 2 of the logs on the cabin. It did the roof. It did all the rest of the logs, the windows, the chimney, the moon, the smoke. It did the marshmallows. I think I had the blue background, but it did the marshmallows. It did the inside of the leaves. It filled in the water down here on the bottom. It filled in the water right here where the frog goes. It filled in part of the s'more right there. So I think it may have filled in the water on this one too. Uh, so it did a lot. 600 stitches made a big difference on this piece. So there's Cabin Fever. Here's a project you see a lot of this year. This is Retrievers by Janlin. This again only got 300 stitches. This is one of the 2 projects that my goal for the year is 5,000 stitches. And this one is a lot closer than the other one. This one is at about 4,000, I think. This one is it's getting there because I do work on it every month. But I did 300 stitches, and they all went in the top of the dog up here. That's the top of his head, and they all went in the dog up there. So there's my retrievers. I think I use this for oldest WIP for categories, and I used it for something on road trip. I may have used it for shopping on road trip or something. I don't know. There we go. All right. This project was probably the big winner this month. This is Three Things Sampler by Moira Blackburn. And this I used on road trip because the prompt was stitch on a sampler. If you stitched on a sampler, you got half off of your stitches or something. There was some significant reward attached to stitching on a sampler. So I pulled this out, and this is one of the ones that I switched my categories around to include this one to make things double dip a little bit better. But there's where I got on that. I filled in these two top flowers, the pink flower and this blue flower. I did the M. I finished filling in the berries and the leaves and the bowls right there. And I added a little bit to the wording. So this one's coming along. I'll be glad when I get to page 3 because I don't really enjoy stitching that top flower band. I'll be glad when I get done with that top flower band, and I'll be glad when I get done with the alphabet. So that'll be next year's Laurel that tackles that. But this got 900 stitches this month. Because I used it for, it came out twice. I used it for road trip, and then I used it for I did my road trip stitches, and then I pulled it back out because I needed it. I think I needed it. I needed to be a multiple of 300 for daily 30. And I think I might have pulled it back out because I was like at 700 and I needed 2 more hundred or something. I don't know why I pulled it back out, but I pulled it back out and did some more stitches on it, and I got to 900. This one will come out. This one will come out again before the end of the year because I want to finish page 2. And there's not that much left to finish on page 2. All I have to finish is there's not a lot left. I'll show you one here. All I have to finish is the rest of the green right here next to the flower, and then I gotta finish the border and finish the lettering and the wording that's in there. There's like 3 lines of wording that I gotta finish, and the border. I said that, so it'll come back out, and it's probably still several hundred more stitches to finish all that. But the next time I pull it out, I'll probably finish all that. And then here's a sorely neglected project that you saw a lot of last year, and it has not gotten nearly the attention that it needs. Not even close to the attention that it needs. I don't really need to show you this, you'll have seen it. But this is Under the Evergreen by Teresa Winsler. And I did have a goal to finish this year, and I slacked on that goal because I probably need a good 10,000 stitches, and I've only done like 1,000. What have I done on it this year? 800, not even 1,000. But I did 300 stitches on it because I needed something with a horse for a road trip. This is the one where if you didn't have it, you got penalized 300 stitches. And so I did 300 stitches on this, and I put 100 stitches in the tree, and I did this blue here on the top of his saddle. That's part of the Jack in the Box. And I did some of the bottom of his rocker there on his hind legs. So there's Under the Evergreen. My poor neglected handsome boy. All right. These two projects that are left, these projects might belong in the naughty corner. So this first one, actually this is probably the one that more belongs in the naughty corner. This is Tetelestai by Great Rose Needle Arts. This was my New Year, New Start. And I did 450 stitches on this month. You will not be able to see 450 stitches because of that 450 that I did, the original 350 that I did, I think I frogged about half of it. And then I didn't put it all back in. So we're gonna use this, go behind this to make this easier. So here it is. And at the beginning of the month, I had done this, and I basically had, it's approximately symmetrical over here. I had done this on this side. I had come all the way down, and I had done this part. I was starting on this part, and I looked at it, and I noticed that, you see under here, where this is underneath the cross bar of the cross, when I was doing it, it was like up here. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, this is too high. It's not matching up. Like, where did I make the mistake? And where I made the mistake was up here. I made the mistake right here. Instead of putting the stitch here, I had put it over here. And so everything was 2 rows too high. Or more than that, maybe. So I ended up having to take all of this out, and all of this out, all the way back up to here. I think it was close to 150 stitches. And I started putting a little bit of it back in, but I haven't put nearly all of it back in. So this project got reverse stitched this month. But I did put 450 stitches in it, and then I took some of them out. And this fabric is Wisteria. And I think I've been saying it's by Live and Die LA, but I kind of think it's by Mystic Fabric. I'm not really sure, but I think it's by Mystic Fabric. All right. My last project this project is also going to get reverse stitched, but for a different reason. This is my By Dimensions Gold Collection Petite. This is my project that I divided into 12 parts to finish it by the end of the year. And let's just talk about this for a minute, because this is going to be relevant. So just notice here that the model was stitched on white. That's the relevant part here. The model was stitched on white. Here's my piece. Notice here that Laurel's fabric is blue. So I got to, my goal for the month was to finish the April section. And the April section is all of these half stitches in here, down to somewhere in here somewhere is where the April section ends. And I started looking at it and I'm like, I don't really know that the background is necessary. It doesn't look the same on the blue as it did on the white. Like if I was stitching on white, it kind of blends into the background. You know, there's some cream stitches and some tan stitches, and it's very subtle. Like on here, you can't probably even see it on the picture, but it's very subtle. It just gives it a little bit of depth, and you know, it looks fantastic on the white. When I did Amaryllis and Bloom, it had these same types of background stitches, and I did it on the kit fabric, and it looks fantastic. But since I didn't stitch it on white, it doesn't quite look the same on the blue, and I don't know that it's necessary, so I've decided that I'm not going to do the background, and I'm going to end up pulling out all that background that's on there already, because I did it on blue, and it's just not the same. So on the upside, this has made this project a lot easier because that background is a lot of stitches. So I did, how many stitches did I do on this? I don't even know. It's a good thing I have a spreadsheet. I did 325 stitches on this. And I finished her face and I did her hair. I had actually done some of this background stitching in here. And that's when I made the decision that I don't really need this. So that's when I stopped doing that and I went to doing her hair. So really all I have left of the cross stitch for the top half is the rest of the decoration in her hair and the rest of the branch and the flowers that she's holding. These leaves, these flowers here, and this flower in her hand. There's a branch and there's some more leaves, or some more flowers, and then that's really all that's left on the cross stitch on the top, and then the bottom of her kimono, the bottom of her obi. So that has made this project a lot easier. And I've been behind on my parts for the month. Like I finished January, February, March, but since I decided not to do the background, that finishes April, and then if I finish these flowers here, that'll finish May, and June is probably done, or maybe finishing the decoration in her hair will finish June. But that decision caught me up April, May, June, July, August, or April, May, June, July. August is somewhere in the bottom of her kimono down here. So there's and she got a whole lot easier. But she looks really good. And yeah, I don't think she needs the background. So there's that. So I haven't stitched yet today. If I get to stitching, and that's an if, I think I might pull out Linus the Trick and the Treat. I don't know that that's going to happen, but if I stitch, that's probably what I'll pull out. So that's what I stitched, and that's 4,500 stitches. They're about 4,569 stitches. So I was off the middle 2 weeks of July, which was great. And I was very sad last week when I had to go back to work. You know how many times I thought about work? How many times I thought, oh wow, I really miss work. I really want to go back to work. 0. I missed work like a -5. I did not miss it at all. Um, I missed a couple of people, but if I want to talk to them, I can talk to them outside of work. So, um, when I was getting ready to take my vacation, I was like, I need to set a goal for road trip. If I'm gonna have all this time off, I can get some extra stitching on it. Then, I need to set a goal for road trip. Where do I want to be on road trip by the time I finish my vacation? And so the goal that I chose, and this is how I choose my goal, is I add up the stitches. So the goal that I chose was about 3,000 stitches for 2 weeks. And I ended up doing 3,500 stitches for the 2 weeks, which I know for some of you that's like a week. But, have we met? So I was really happy with that. I did 3,500 stitches, so I exceeded the stitch count that I wanted to. I didn't quite get to the stop that I wanted to because our fearless leader in road trip keeps posting, you know, if you're at this stop, then you need to slow down because you might need an upgrade. If you're past the stop, you might need an upgrade. And so everybody stops stitching because nobody wants to upgrade. Nobody wants to get caught in a shenanigan where you have to do extra stitches. So, like, everybody stopped stitching. So the first week she did that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take a few days and I'm going to catch up some shopping because I hadn't done hardly any of my shopping. So I did like 700 and something shopping stitches. And there were a few days in there, some of those days were days that I didn't stitch. And then the next bulletin, she said, if you're at this stop, which was one stop after the previous one, if you're past that stop, you might need an upgrade. So I'm like, oh, great. I still don't want to stitch because now I'm at that stop and I still don't want to upgrade. So road trip has been a little bit frustrating that way. But now she's got an event where she's trying to encourage people to move along. And I'm like, well, you're the one that scared everybody into stopping. So I don't know. Anyway, and that event ends tomorrow and I haven't really done very well at it. Those 100 stitches I put in replacing stitches into telestai were the only stitches I've done on it so far. But so hopefully road trip will. It's just been a very slow pace this leg, and I understand that she's trying to keep everybody together, so that there's not people who are way out in front who are sitting there at the end of the month or at the end of the leg for a month waiting for everybody else to catch up. But it's just gotten to be like, if I'm in the front of the pack where I'm gonna get, consequences for being too far in front. I'm not a very fast stitcher, so if I'm in the front of the pack, you know that it's very slow. Usually I'm in the ones that, hey, you need I'm usually either when she says you should be around the stop, I'm at that stop or I'm a stop or two behind it. Like, I'm not usually ahead of where she says I'm supposed to be. I'm usually a stop or two behind it, really. So hopefully the pace will pick up here because it's getting to be kind of frustrating. Arbitrary August in categories. So we do have categories, but we also have Arbitrary August. So instead of doing the typical categories where you pick a project that fills each category and you set a goal, you can do that if you want, or you can spin a wheel. You can put projects on a wheel and spin a wheel And if they fit in the category, if the project you spin fits in the category, you can put it in the category, or otherwise you just set a goal and everything you spin off that wheel fits into that goal, counts towards that goal. So let's talk about what the categories are. So this is going to be a little different because I'm not going to, I sort of have an idea of what might fit in here, but I don't have anything really picked. The first category is least amount done, which would probably be no, not French kitchen. It would probably be, I don't remember. I had it in my mind which one it was. It's something that only has, Bells of Ireland. Bells of Ireland only has 500 stitches in it. So it's probably that. That's my least amount done. Newest start would be Cabin Fever. Closest to a finish would also be Cabin Fever, because I don't really have anything closest to a finish. So, close to a finish. So even though that still has quite a bit left on it, it probably is the one that's closest to finishing of what I have. Struggle Bus, that would probably be, I don't know. I don't know what I would put in there. And Holiday would probably be Under the Evergreen, maybe. Or, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't quite worked out what I would put in these categories. But since we're doing Arbitrary August, I created a wheel. And people are creating their wheels in different ways. Where is my app that I need? Some people, like if you watch Sammy J. Stitches, she put on her wheel all of her projects that haven't hit their goal for the year. And since she created that wheel, she's taken a couple of them off because they've hit their goal since then. Some people are putting on projects that they haven't stitched on yet this year. Some people are putting on, different projects that they've come to, in different ways. So I think I still have about 10 projects that need their 500 stitches. I do not want to put those all on my wheel because those are kind of the projects that I don't really want to pull out. My TWs, my Genie's Blue Blast, my Mirabilia the Kiss, the projects that I'm not really trying to pull out. So I didn't want to put those on there. So I decided that I have 5 projects that I'm hoping to still finish this year. Whether that happens is a different story. But I put those on there. I have 2 projects that have 5,000 stitch goals, the dogs and Savannah. So I put those on there. And then I put Line is the Trick and the Treat on there because I'm thinking about making that my project I divide into 12 pieces next year. And so I'd like to make some more progress on that this year so that it's easier to do next year. And then the 5 that I want to finish are Cabin Fever, My. Because remember, if I don't finish My, I'll never hear the end of it from Vic. And since I decided not to do the background, I really have no excuse for not finishing it. Bells of Ireland, Poppy, and Tetelestai. So, if I can stop frogging on Tetelestai. So those are my 8 projects that I want to put on there, or that I put on there. So I'm going to, and so you create your wheel, and you also have to have, how you're going to spin the wheel. Are you going to spin it every day, like Sammy is going to spin hers every day? I think Jessie is going to spin hers every day. Some people are spinning it every, so many stitches, 500 stitches or whatever. I thought about doing that 500 stitch thing, but I decided what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow the road trip itinerary. So you know, whatever stop I'm on a road trip, I'll do that number of stitches and then I'll spin the wheel. There's a couple of stops that have more stitches, so on those I might spin in the middle somewhere. But I decided I'll spin the wheel for every stop on a road trip, or if I stop and do shopping stitches, I'll spin for every batch of shopping stitches. So that's arbitrary August. And then if they fit in a category, I'll put them in the category. So so that's arbitrary August. Feel free to play along. Sammy, if you watch Sammy's video that she posted a week ago, like around July 25th, July 23rd, something like that, she explains the whole thing. She explains it a lot better than I did. So if you go and watch that video, she explains it a lot better. She did a very good job. So what else did we do this month? Stash weeding and de-stash. So I decided, since I was off work, I should kind of do some stuff to get my house in better order and clean up and declutter. And my goal, which I failed at miserably, was to do something every day. And it didn't have to be a big task, but something every day to clean up something or make something look better or declutter something or something towards improving my house. And I did it for some of the days, but I kind of fell off the wagon on that. But one of the things that I did do is this cabinet right here. I got in there and I went through that and looking for stuff that I'm not going to stitch. And I did some of that. I got some of those. And then to organize it, because it was sort of loosely organized, but it had gotten to be kind of messy. And because I have more stash than what fits in there. And so I did some reorganizing. I did some resorting. I pulled all of my WIPs out of that cabinet, and I have my my WIPs that I'm actually working on are over here. There's a shelf over here, but that's where my WIPs that I'm actually working on are. And then all the WIPs that I'm not really working on, like those 10 that I said I'm not really interested in pulling those out this year. And actually a couple of those that I showed you, the Mermaid, Dark Water, Silver Moon Tea, Kimono, those are all they're in a reusable shopping bag. And then I also put all my kitted projects that I made a video 2 weeks ago with all my kitted projects. Those are in a different, larger, reusable shopping bag. So I sorted through all my stash, and instead of the way I had it organized before, where I had my WIPs on the top, and then on the bottom shelf in the back I had my kits, like Dimensions kits and other kits that I bought, Teresa Winston kits. And then in the front I had all my leaflets. And I decided this time what I was going to do was I was going to sort it by priority. And so there's kind of like 5 categories. This is stuff that I really want to stitch. This is a priority. Like, this is stuff that when I look at it, I'm like, I need to stitch that. Why haven't I started that? I really want to stitch that. And then there's stuff like, I want to stitch it, but not as much as some of this other stuff on the higher list. And then there's the stuff at the bottom, which was, I'm not going to stitch this. I'm going to get rid of this. And then there's the stuff in the middle. I guess there's 4 categories. And then there's the stuff in the middle that it's kind of not on either side. It's not, oh, I have to stitch this now. No, there are 5 categories. There's stuff in the middle that's I'm making a mess of this, aren't I? So there's the stuff that I want to stitch. There's the stuff that I want to stitch but not as much. There's the stuff that I'm like de-stashing. There's the stuff that I'm not sure if I'm going to stitch it, but I'm not ready to get rid of it. And then there's the stuff that I don't feel one way or the other about. It's there, and, you know, I don't know if I'm going to stitch it or not, but, you know, I like it. I might stitch it. I don't know. So that's how I put them back in the cabinet. Now that I got all of my WIPs out there, I have more space. So the stuff that I'm like, I need to stitch this, why aren't I stitching this, is on the top. And the stuff that's like, I want to stitch this, but not as much as these other projects, is in the back of the top. And then the stuff that I don't know if I'm going to stitch, but I don't want to get rid of it yet, is in the back of the bottom. And then the stuff that's kind of just neutral that I don't feel one way or the other about is in the front of the bottom. And that process was very enlightening. It really was. And then the stuff that I destashed, of course, I've destashed some of it already, and I have some of it left. But I need to mail some of it out. But I need to mail all of it out. The only person who got her stuff was Alma, because I saw Alma last 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, and I handed it to her while she was here. But it was enlightening, because instead of, oh, this is a kid, let me put it with the kids, I was like, you know, oh, I don't know if I want to stitch this. Like, it was just very clarifying, like, where things fell in my priority list. And so I I benefited from that. Like, I don't know what to say about it, except it was very, very enlightening and clarifying to sort it that way, instead of, oh, this is a Teresa Winsler, and this is a Blackbird, and this is, Mirabilia, and this is a different designer. And um so that's what I did with my stash. I have some more over here. I have a couple of baskets over here that have small charts in them, like Plum Street and uh, Silver Creek samplers that come in those little half-size sheets. And then my small kits, like the Dimensions Gold Collection Petites and the Mirabilia Holiday Fairy kits, and Bent Creek kits, things like that. Um, and I guess I kind of went through those, and I think I ended up keeping most of that. I don't know that I went through them terribly carefully, but so that was my stash sorting adventure, and I made a mess. It was a big mess, and I cleaned it up, and my cabinet looks better, and it was very clarifying. So now I feel like I'm still not really into starting much, or anything, but I feel like when I go to start something, I either need to pick something from my kitted projects list or bag, or I need to pick something from that top shelf, that these are the things that I really want to stitch. Um, so, yeah, I'm tired. um, all right. Is there anything else I wanted to say about that? I think that was it. It was just, it's, it's a good exercise. Like, if you need to destash or you need to weed out your stash, it's a good exercise to think about, how badly do I want to stitch this. Um, and prioritize them a little bit. Okay, so I have a little tiny bit of haul here. Not a lot. And this one, I got a little confused, because I thought that I showed it in my June video, and I thought, I don't need to show it again, I already showed it. But then when I looked at my PayPal to see what I bought, I paid for it on June 30th. And I'm like, there's no way that I paid for it on June 30th and I showed it in my June video. That just didn't happen. But then I realized I showed it in my Kitted Projects video that I made in the middle of July. And if you haven't watched that video, you should go watch it. You'll see what's in that shopping bag of Kitted Projects, and some other stuff that's in a different bag that Vic at Stitch and Bend started calling my hoodlum projects, because they're in Ziploc bags, or they're in plastic bags, and they don't really have a proper project bag. So she started calling them my hoodlum projects. So speaking of Homespun Needlework, the Homespun Needlework group, this was their last exclusive that I bought. This is Hannah Wilson, and this is by Needlework Press, Vicki Jeanette, and so I got that. And I got the fabric. The fabric, which I haven't opened yet, it's still in the paper, is 32 count Eureka linen by Fox and Rabbits. And then the thread is Mud Flats by Dinky Dyes. I got the 36 count with the silks. They have, and I talked about this in my, I think I talked about it in my Kid Projects video, and I talked about it in my July video, or my June video, when I showed Mary Gibson. They have all kinds of fabric and fiber combinations, and they come in at different price points. So if you get 16 count Aida with DMC, that's normally the cheapest. And if you get, the 56 count with the Avera Soie, that's normally the most expensive. So, or the 103, I guess on 56 count, you would use 103. But, so, there's Hannah Wilson. And they also, on this one, they send you a counting pins. And it's got a little snippet of the design in there. These are by Sampling of Memories. So that was that. And then I gave Vic his stitch and button money, as I want to do. And I got a project bag. She showed this. I'm like, that is so pretty. And so she put it up on her group, and I was like, me. So all the pink flowers, and then the pink inside. It's just so pretty. And I think she's including more of these in her next batch of bags that she's working on. So if you like it, stay tuned to her group, because I think there's more in the next batch of bags. And then, so this I bought because I saw it on Stash and Load, and I know it's used for a chart that I want and haven't bought yet, but I saw it come up on Stash and Load, and so I'm like, let me get that. This is 36 count Mad Hatter's Tea Towel by James of the Needle, and this is used for the Stacy Nash Spring Chickens Pin Keep that came out at Market. It's adorable. I have not gotten the chart yet, but when I eventually get around to buying the chart, I have the fabric. So I think that's all for me. I did get distracted, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because it's personal to one of my friends, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. But I got distracted by a friend who I was helping with a DNA/genealogy project, and it was a lot of fun. I was having a good old time with it. And it's kind of, the part that we wanted to accomplish, I did that part, and I'm kind of at the part where I could do more, but I don't know how much more of it I'm going to do. But I got distracted with that for several days, but my friend is trying to find a family member, and I think we found the right person, and there was contact made today, and so I'm hoping this is going to go well, and yeah, so I'm excited for him, and I hope it works out, especially since I'm the one that told him, hey, I think this is the right person. So anyway, I got distracted with that for several days, and I'm still I don't know how he's dealing with the suspense, because it's not even my thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to know, I want to know, I want to know. But yeah. So there were a couple of days that I spent doing that, and I didn't stitch. And I think last week, like a week and a half ago last week, I think there were a few days I was just tired or distracted or something. I don't know why I didn't stitch, but it was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I didn't stitch. And then I stitched Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday again this week that I didn't stitch because Wednesday night I talked to my friend about his situation, and then Thursday night I was busy doing my research stuff that I was doing to help him, and then uh, Friday I ended up talking to my mom. My mom called and talked for 2 hours. My mom and my uncle went to New Orleans. They're on their way back now. My cousin owns a pie shop in New Orleans, and I'm told that my mom brought me some stuff back from the pie shop that I think she's going to run over here when the plane lands because she said it's perishable. So I think I'm going to have something really good to eat when I get home or when my mom gets back. So probably in another 2, 3 hours. Um, so that'll be fun. Anyway, that's all for me, and happy stitching, and I will see you next month. Bye.